Okay, hello guys. Welcome back to the new session for the cut pills. So today we'll be started with a new topic. So let me share my screen a little bit. Okay, we want to discuss a little bit more about what is sensitive information. So the idea with this, can you see my screen right now?
Yeah, man.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we want to talk about the sensitive information in C#. So the idea with this is a new session for the cut pills. I would want to introduce first talk what is sensitive information. So this term is related with the data that we want to protect for unauthorized access. So the idea with this is safeguard the privacy for the security on individual or organization. Talking a little bit more about this thing, we want to talk about what is the personal information. For example, is the data that is tracked for an individual. So it's for example, the information that you can identify one person individually, or the financial information that the person has. The other thing is related with the business information. It's more related with an enterprise information that you can discuss. And the most important thing that could be the more sensitive information that you have is the classified information. It's the kind of information that you have to keep and safeguard, because could be exposed information that you don't want to share with the others, companies, or other persons. Okay, that's more related with the topics and the information that you have. So remember, is the first of all types is the personal information. The second one is the business information, and the third is the classified information. Okay. So in this talk, we want to discuss about how to protect the sensitive information, more related when we serialize or send this data to the client. Okay. And how to protect that information, because more of those information that we have to protect, we can use different kind of algorithms to protect and crypt or decrypt information. But when we send information, we have to send this in a different way. Okay. First of all, I want who I am. My name is Julio Robles, and mainly I am solution architect in .NET Technologies. Also, I am DevOps champion, QA engineer, support engineer, senior developer, technical lead, delivery manager, IT consultant, and university professor. I have more than 13 years experience in .NET Technologies, more or less the time. So the idea with this is share the knowledge that I have a little bit with you guys. But if you have something to share, please raise your hand and we can discuss everything that you want. Related with the options, that the first thing that we have to introduce about the sensitive information is regarding about how do you protect the information. First of all, you are thinking that your information must be protected using encrypt or decrypt files, using certifiers, using private keys and public keys. That's a normal protection that you have. You can use, for example, asymmetric encryption, that you are sending information using a key, and the other side receive the information and decrypt the information using the same key or the private key. So the idea with this is the way that you can send information between two sides, the client and the server, or the two clients that was connected. Okay. But what happened with this kind of things? For example, the other way that you can protect the information is transmit the data, but not the real data. You can use masked fields. For example, if you see the first table, you have the normal information that you want, but when you transmit this information to the client, you can use the mask to protect this information. But what happened when you transmit the information in plain text? The problem is that you can see this information through the chat, the developer option on the browser. So the idea is don't transmit the information in plain text. Transmit the information as the way that you want to show in the browser. Okay? Well, I want to show you a couple of things about this. So the idea is I want to show you how you serialize a normal serialization, use a sensitive attribute, use a JSON serializer or contract resolver, use a JSON convert, use a third-party library called JSON masking, and the way that we are implementing is a custom protector library. All the things that I want to show you here, you can find it here. This is my GitHub, personal GitHub, and you can find it here as a max sensitive data. This is, you can see the code that I will want to show you here. You can review it here, okay? We want to see this a kind of types that you can protect the data using masking data, okay? For another session, we want to discuss about how to protect sensitive information using private and public keys and other algorithms, okay? But for today, I want to show you how to do this using masking protections, okay? So go ahead. Question until here, guys? Everything is clear?
Clear.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, it is.
Okay, let me show you what I'm doing here. I want to show you a couple of regions that we have. First of all, I want to share and clarify the thing that we are doing here. First of all, we have here, we call it this is a normal JSON, a normal structure that you have here. It's a simple data. What means simple data? That you only have one level at the same time for the object. And a complex object means that you have same information, but internally you have different objects inside. Okay, for example, this. You have a current position that inside has another fields inside. Or do you have something like this? Do you have a list of other objects that inside has other objects and inside could have other objects, okay? That is the way that you can find that kind of information, okay? So we have two types. A simple object here, it's a normal object that we have, and a complex object or complex data when we have different kind of object inside another object, okay? Related with this, we can show you this. It's a normal serialization. Okay, so first of all, let me run it, the code. And after that, we have to review what I'm doing, okay? So let me run here. Start it here, first of all. This is a console application, so there are no problem with this. So that's pretty simple. So what I'm doing here, so let me put it by side. Okay. Let me fix a little bit this thing. Okay. What I'm doing here, first of all, I'm running the code. Okay. I'm starting with this. First, I want to serialize a normal object here. Okay, this simple data. And second, I serialize the second object using a complex data. Okay. That's a normal discussion. We have everything. That is a thing that we are doing all days when we're working with objects. And the data you can see here is a simple object. And you can see here the complex object. Okay? But what happened with these kind of things? The problem that we have here is that you are serializing sensitive information. For example, here, I'm serializing the credit card number. Okay, my personal identifier, okay, my password, okay. So that's kind of the information is sensitive for this object. And here, for example, date of birth could be a sensitive information, personal identifier, okay, For example, the salary could be a sensitive information. Okay, the age or something related with that, this kind of operation. That's the normal thing that we are doing all days. Okay, and when we send this information to the browser, we are sharing this information with everybody. Okay, so what we can do here in this case? Okay, the first thing that we can do is use an sensitive attribute. How this thing works? Okay, let me show you how this thing works. Here, okay, let me put it here. Okay. So I'm doing the same. Use the sensitive attribute, and let me show you what I'm doing here. Okay, when I do it the same thing and serialize the data, I'm using the normal constructor. Sorry, the normal constructor here, and I'm using a first serialization. And see what happened here. The password is working here, and the credit card number were masked. Okay, I could mask it also something like this, personal identifier, for example. Okay, and the other thing that I can do here is use the same thing for a complex object. But look what happened here. I'm doing this, for example, here for a company, but not for a salary. There are problems that we have here. When do you have internal objects over the same object, that's not that this kind of option has problems because they only serialize for the first object inside or the first level that you have. Okay, do you have to mark it exactly each field to serialize to protect the data? Okay, how this thing works? So let me show you how this thing works. Okay, for example, in this case, how this thing works using a sensitive attribute. The way that we are doing using a sensitive attribute is when we are create a contract resolver, okay, we are serializing the simple data, in this case, using a sensitive data resolver. What means sensitive resolver here? I'm using a property here, okay, and the sensitive attribute. And I'm creating a sensitive attribute. What is mean a sensitive attribute? It's a normal class that what I can add it to my class. You remember that we created a class here at the beginning, okay? For example, in this case, we created a simple data, okay? When I go to the definition of the simple data, I come here and voila. You can see here the sensitive data. This is a sensitive data attribute. Remember? So I'm marking this field as a sensitive data. Okay? I'm marking using a sensitive data. I'm passing this as a mask that you can use. Okay? And you can add this for each of those fields. And also, I'm doing the same for a complex data here. Okay? So I'm using the sensitive data or using, for example, this sensitive data in this case. Okay? But what happened with this kind of things, for example? When you are using this, you need to execute the contract resolver for this one. So the idea is you are using a sensitive data resolver. And this is on charge to review each of those properties and validate if that property has marked as a sensitive data attribute. So when that things happen, I can say, okay, this is sensitive. So what I have to do? Review the sensitive attribute, retrieve the mask for this attribute, and change the value for a masking data here. And after that, I return the property masked. You see? It's a simple information. You don't have to do more changes here. It's a pretty simple thing that you can do it. okay? But the problem is when you're working with a complex data, that's not working well, okay? Because I'm only working for the first level. Then you see, I marked some fields as sensitive, but internally they are not doing that masking. This only do it the masking for the first level of that kind of objects. Okay? So the second option is try to solve this fixed. I create a new couple of information here. I'm using a simple info, pretty similar to the simple data, and a complex info. And I created two new objects here. Okay, the first of all is a normal information that's in the same way. And the second one is a complex object with two new objects here. Okay, I'm saving credit card information and everything related with this thing. What I'm doing here, I'm using a JSON converted. What's mean the JSON converted? So let me show you. In this case, let me continue. I'm using the same information. I'm here. I'm using the same JSON converted. Okay? But you can see that I have the same JSON conversion serialization. I'm not using anything related at the previous, for example. Here, I was using a JSON serialized settings. Okay? Here, I'm using a normal JSON serialization. Okay? But what happened in this case? When I'm doing here and execute the normal convention, I'm using an all related, all market that this was serialized well. And in this case, that's working inside of the internal objects. As you can see, it's pretty simple to use. Okay? But in this case, we are masking using stars in this way. Okay? How this thing works? Pretty simple to work. I'm using the JSON library. What does mean? When I come here for the simple info class, you can see here that you have, instead that you mark it as an attribute, I'm using the notation for this JSON converter. And the max sensitivity data, for example, here, I'm creating a converter. Okay? Here is similar to the attribute, but really is more that adding logic to convert. Okay? You are creating a convert here, and you can say, okay, everything that you want to serialize this object, passing this and change the information for this masking. Okay? That's the thing that we are doing. So in this case, the converter here, using this kind of converter. Okay? You can add more logic, validation, and everything related. This is pretty simple to use. And you can validate here the JSON converted. The problem in this case is that you only have to use one kind of mask. You don't customize in a simple way, the different masking that you want. For example, if you want numeric, you have to, if you want to use pound as a masking, you cannot do it here. You only use stars for everything. Okay? But here you can use all the same notation, in this case, for example, for the simple or for the complex, in the same way. You can use it everywhere. Okay? Internally, for example, the payment method you see is internally for this one. And here you can use it internally for this one methods inside. Okay? So with this thing, you can see that internally you can use it, but the only masking that you can use is only one. In this case, is using stars. Okay? But really no problem. You can try to customize and everything related with this, but depends. Need more logic, a simple logic for that, and could be impact the normal serialization for that. Anyway, this kind of methods could be impact a little bit no more, the serialization option. Okay, so the next one is using a third-party library. This third-party, you can find it in a normal NuGet package. This is JSON masking, and this library is pretty simple to use. You only have to serialize the object. Okay, you can use serialize the object here. It's a normal serialization. Okay, and with this serialization, I'm serializing here. I'm serializing the first data, simple data. This one. I'm using in this exercise. I'm using the simple data and complex data. Okay. So in this case, what I can do is I'm using the normal conversion here. If you can see here, we have all the data normal. Okay, you can see the password here. But what happens if I use this library? When I use this library, I can create a list of fields that I want to include as part of my customized masking. And here I can use something like a wildcards. For example, I'm not sure if inside or where is this field. Okay, so I can use star to replace the hierarchy for this object. If you can see credit card as part of the complex data inside your where is it? Oh, okay, it's here, but you are not sure if where is this is with this. Okay, if you are sure that it's the same level, you don't need to put it start at the beginning or at the end, for example. If I don't know exactly where is this field, just only I can put the start as a wildcard, and the library is on charge to find where is this field internally for the hierarchy inside of the object, and will be changed or replace the data for the masking. So in this case, you can put it this thing, okay, created a list for the fields names that you want to mask or protect, okay? And you can create here the mask that you want to use. And after that, you only have to use this third-party library. It's a JSON masking. You put in JSON masking, max field, using the JSON that you are working here, using the blacklist that you are creating here, and using the mask. So when do you serialize the object again, twice here, you are masking the objects with a new complex data. Okay? So as you can see here, you have all this information masked in the same object. Okay? This is another way that you can use. And the third, okay, but the problem that you have here is that you have to create the list for the objects. And the other is that you cannot customize the masking that you want. Okay? And the last option that we deployed, that we implement, was a mix for the first implementations and using the same method for the JSON masking implementation. How we did this? Okay, we created a custom protector library, and you only have to pass max field using an external, okay? You are using an external object, and you are passing here the data that you have. As you can see, you are passing the object. You are not passing the JSON serializer, okay? You are passing the object. And here, when I receive it here, the idea is we are returning, in this case, we are returning the serialized object and masked, the complex data. How these things work? So let me show you what I'm doing here. When I complete this, I put in this masking for all the fields that I want to keep, okay? And for the complex object, that the problem that we have at the beginning, remember that the first serialization, when they use a sensitive attribute, the internal objects could not be serialized, could not be masked or protected. In this case, we can protect that kind of object internally, as you can see here, company, for example, or a salary that was not protected at the beginning, okay? So how this thing works? It's pretty simple to use. You can create it here, reuse. You can reuse here the same attribute, okay? In this case, you can reuse the same attribute. So let me here. In this case, I'm using this, for example. I'm reusing the sensitive attribute internally. I'm reusing the masking for each of those fields that you want to change, okay? And the protector library, the things very simple does is you can here and change the sensitive data as well. What I'm doing here is pretty simple. I'm using reflection. What I'm doing here, I'm iterate over the object, okay? I'm getting each of those properties, and when I get in this property, I validating if that property is marked as sensitive data, okay? When that things happen, I only replacing this for the masked field inside. As you can see, I'm using reflection here. I have to validate that was this a class, or is a generic class, or is a class type internally, and everything related here. I'm using recursive to, again, call into my inside, okay, to complete the hierarchy for the object. I don't need a list. I build the list inside, okay? I reuse the sensitive data attribute, okay? And in this case, you can validate everything inside of the object. And inside for this one, you are reusing at the same recursive method to call it inside. And when these things happen, I'm using a masking validation for all and replace for the masking data that we have, okay? So this is pretty simple to use. When you only have to include this library inside, and when these things happen, that's pretty simple. What happens if you need to validate, for example, different kind of objects? For example, this. You can use this serialization. That's another way that you serialize. What happens if you want to use not the object? Do you want to use the normal JSON conversion? That you can use it also. In this case, for example, I'm serializing using the string object as a JSON, okay? And that's happening the same way. I'm passing the object, okay? And I say, what is the data? And I'm doing the same thing, okay? So you can use in two ways. You can use it when passing the normal object in this way, okay? Or you can use it passing the JSON, serialize it, and a plain text, and you can use it here, okay? Okay, guys, that's all that I have to share. Questions or something that maybe you want to share with us? What do you think about this?
How much does this impact the performance of the?
Well, really, I did the measure over there, and that's not a lot of time. In memory, also, that's not take up a lot of memory, because that depends more of the how big is your class, okay, and how big levels in how do you have, okay. If you only have 1 or 3 levels, that's not important level. I did the test using a 5 levels inside, and the impact was milliseconds. That's no more than. So that's pretty simple to use. They use on memory and the time to process is pretty short. Milliseconds, I guess nanosecond, because it's pretty easy to use. And it's really pretty simple to execute internally for that kind of property. Other question, guys?
Something that you need to have in mind, guys, is when you need to mask this kind of PI data is just for showing that data in a front end or to export that data.
Totally.
Only when you have to process or to communicate between those two services or something, you don't need to mask or do any transformation, because you will face issues.
Correct.
This kind of things make that data unusable.
Right. Thanks, Ricardo. Yeah, yes, a good point.
So this means there's
also
right.
Sorry, go ahead, Edison, and then Paulino.
Sorry, Paulino, for cutting you off. So this means that there is no way to decode this information. For example, if I am transmitting, I don't know, one JSON from one service to another, and I'm just like doing this mask, there's no way to do the process reversely, only for showing information. But if you want to decode it, it's not recommended.
Yeah, that's
the process here
in the beginning that there are other techniques like the encryption. Those other techniques are when you want are useful when you want to protect your information in network transportation when you're calling other services. But this is specific to show the information.
Correct. Yeah, the idea is try to protect the information when you display this into the browser. When you send this information to the browser, the most of part of the time you are sending information in plain text. And the front end use a masking data to show the information. But a hacker can go to the developer option and see what is the real information that you are transmitting inside. Okay? So that's the thing that we want to protect here. But as Ricardo mentioned, but really, the information here is only when do you want to display this information. That's the thing that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. For the other things that maybe you want to really protect the information to transmission or everything, you can use certificates, private and public keys, or you can use a secure channel like a PVPN or something like that. Even you can use all that kind of things together to be more secureable that kind of information. Okay, Paulino, do you want to share something?
You mentioned that's a good clarification. This is for the display level layer.
Right.
So you also have to take into consideration protecting the data in the transportation layer and also in the storage layer. So when you how do you deal with this information in your databases, for example?
We have another session regarding that. We want to discuss, for example, how you can use certificates into the database and what is the impact for that. We have another session. I will be invited to a new session that maybe we can discuss about that in a future. But we can discuss about that. Anyway, if any one of you guys wants to take that session, feel free to raise a hand and let me know, hey, I want to talk about that. That could be great. Okay, Ramon, sorry, I interrupted you.
Okay, this will be very useful at login level also to, for example, to log information on services such as App Center or
Totally.
App Insight will be very
Totally.
useful, unimportant.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sometimes
That's great.
you log all JSON and you don't know the password is going to be logged in the service.
Totally. You matched the point. That's good.
Yeah,
really good. Yeah. That's this other example that when do you want to use this is when do you log in information. If you are logging this kind of information, for example, for tracing or for audit method, if you have to put this information into the database, or you have to put this information in App Insight or for Log4Net or something and everywhere, you must use this kind of protection for the sensitive information. For example, in my project right now, we have to discuss that kind of things because we are logging the all payload that we are transmitting. So the idea with this, we need to protect this kind of information because, everybody has access to this. We work it with a safe information and safe employees, but the idea is someday we don't know who can hack the system and access to this private information. So the idea is if you protect this kind of information with sensitive data, that could be good. Okay, Ricardo, do you want to add more something? Ricardo? No, you're
Hi, Julio.
Okay.
It's me, Omar. Okay, I just have a little question. So this type of technique, it's better to use it to control maybe the representation of the data that we are going to show in some place.
Yeah, it's more when I mentioned before. If you want to customize your process, you can use that kind of techniques. But if you don't want to customize that kind of things or something like that, just only use JSON converter, and that's it. It's pretty simple to use and works for all that kind of levels. And you needed that kind of things. If you want to customize or you want to process another things or add more logic, you can use that kind of techniques. Yeah, good advance, man. Omar, thank you. Ricardo, anything else?
Thank you, Julio.
Welcome, my friend.
No, man, I think this is all.
That's good. Okay, somebody raise the hand.
Right. And
okay, I have a couple of questions, guys. Please don't leave now right now. Victor.
Thank you, Julio. This is, as you mentioned, just to show not the plain data, but if you need that data will be shown as into accrued, is not applied that techniques, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, as we mentioned before, that this is more when do you want to protect this kind of information and that kind of thing. But if you have to interact with this kind of data, you have to protect in another ways. This is more related when do you want to, for example, log in, as mentioned Ramon, that's kind of things, or when do you want to, you are not interested in generate, for example, when do you want to generate a report, okay? That's you don't have interaction with the data, but you need to expose the data to the external process. Okay.
Yeah. In the past I had a process that take all the information and review by the audit operations area, but we didn't have to show the salary and the date of birth of the employees. It's a shame that we didn't have in that time this type of techniques, but right now what we have, it's a great.
Okay, yeah. If you want to customize everything here, is possible. So if you want to do a different kind of method to protect that kind of information, could be great. We want to discuss in another session, how do you handle sensitive information using certifications, for example. That's another thing. And the last session that we want to discuss with you guys is how do you protect the information inside to the database. Okay?
Thank you.
Somebody else is working. Yeah, thank you, man. Junior, what is the cat?
Hello. Can I
Hello, man.
replicate the implementation with JSON Serializer too? JSON Serializer is the system that does JSON. Yes. Is the
you can. Sorry, go ahead.
Same way?
Yeah. As I show it how you can do it. This is one of those using the JSON convert and JSON serializer. Is one of those as example that maybe you can find here. Yeah. Thanks, Ramon.
Okay.
Sorry, Junior. Anything else, guys? I have a couple of questions for you guys. Okay. Junior, okay, perfect. Okay. Who can send me? What is the type of the sensitive information that we can find? Who can say me? Raise a hand. Come on. Everybody knows? Great. Paulino.
It's personal, business, and classified.
Very good. Excellent. Another
One
question.
for Christian.
Sorry?
One bonus for Christian.
One 80 points for you, my friend. Another one. Another question.
Yay!
Another question. What types of methods we use here? Who can say me? Okay, Victor.
There is a custom serializer, sensitive data attributes with JSON serializer. I losing the other two.
Who can help him?
We have third-party library as well.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, guys. Very good. That. Okay. What is the problem with the sensitive attribute in a normal way? What is the problem with that? Who can say me?
When
Okay. Who is raising the hand? Edison is raising the hand, but every other else. Okay. Edison, can I jump into you? Okay, my friend. Go ahead.
The information goes to plain, goes to show plain in other services or screens.
No, more or less. Who can say me more about the sensitive attribute? What happened? What is the problem with that? Edison Suarez.
The depth of the serialization is more simple or difficult for serializing the data.
Correct. The problem is you have deep information inside that's only possible to serialize the first level. Okay, another question. What is the problem with the JSON converter? What do you don't do it using that technology? Okay, Victor, let participate to other guys, man.
Okay.
you are so happy at that. But that's good, man. If anyone can say, okay. Carlos Felipe, don't worry. Thanks, Victor. That's okay. You can compliment Victor.
I think the problem is that you only have one mask for every attribute. It doesn't matter the attribute.
Right. That's good. Victor, that's the answer, right?
Yeah, that
Correct.
is the answer.
Perfect, guys. Okay, and the last question. if I using complex, if I using a protector library, what is the method to discover the sensitive information? Please raise the hand. What I'm doing to discover?
Masking JSON.
No. What I'm doing to discover what is the fields that I have to mask?
Sorry, I remember. I think was the blacklist, right?
No, the blacklist is for JSON masking. What I'm doing using the protector library to discover what is the fields that I have to protect. Okay, one of you guys, Victor.
By reflection.
Very good, Edison. That's you correct?
Yes, I was going to say that you need to use reflection for reading all the properties for the object and look for the attribute for each of 4 of those.
Excellent compliment. Yeah, we need to use reflection, and inside we need to validate that sensitive data attribute is marked for that field. Very good, guys. I clap for you guys. Thanks a lot for your time. That's all that I have to share. I really appreciate your time. And yep, we can see you the next time. Welcome to the Code Pills. And please come to the next session. Bye-bye, my friends. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
Bye bye.